From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my beautiful co-host, Angelique Perrin. How are you today, beautiful girl?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
All right.
We were discussing, and this will be new to the Tipsters, that I took a gun safety class because I've always been anti-gun. Not for anyone else, just for myself. I'm happy other people can own them. I'm a big proponent of our amendment rights. Have all the guns you want. I've just never wanted to have one because I feel I'm somewhat accident prone. And Mark and I talked about it, and we never wanted one because we would accidentally shoot ourselves, and that would be very bad. So I decided not to have a gun. I have a commemorative LA Dodgers baseball bat with Mark's name engraved on it.
That's your protection.
Yes, by the bed, because, you know, I have Siren Marie Morgan Humphreys, but she's a terrible dog. And she would like bark at you, and then she would lay down on her back and want you to rub her belly. So she's, you know, she's scary looking and scary sounding. But anyway, so I took a gun safety class yesterday, and it was pretty remarkable at a local shooting range, the Oak Tree Gun Club here in Santa Clarita. And the instructor is former military and former LASD, Sheriff's Department. And he was great, a good teacher, polite, patient, confident, all the things you want when someone's trying to teach you to use a firearm. And it was a pistol class, and I'm really bad at it. But I, when talking to Angelique and couldn't imagine this sweet little girl having a firearm, tells me the beginning of a funny story. And I'm like, no, save it. Save it. So you've had several guns.
Yeah. I mean, I come from North Carolina. Yeah, I had a...
I'm from Kentucky, girl, and I never had one.
I don't know. I mean, I had a 9.
Of course you did.
A Beretta.
Oh, my goodness.
I had a 38. Her name was Camilla Parker Bowles.
Just makes me laugh so hard. That makes me laugh so hard.
My ex-boyfriend left a sawed-off shotgun.
Of course he did.
In not rent money.
Just as a little gift for you?
Just sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah.
And something else in the house, but I think was it a 22? Anyway, I accidentally shot the 22 into the ceiling.
No, it was the shotgun.
Oh, no, gosh, no.
Oh, it was just the 22?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something, I
okay.
can't even remember what kind of gun it was. I think it was a 22, but yeah, I accidentally discharged it into the ceiling.
Was someone living upstairs, or it was your property?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure it's still there. But after that, I was like, you are a danger to yourself and others. And so when LAPD had their gun meltdown, I was like, here, take these.
That's
and they
hilarious.
all got melted down.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I dated a guy from Oakland who saw the gun underneath my nightstand, and he freaking flipped out. It really just depends on where you're from.
Right.
Your ideas about guns.
Why would he?
He was very nervous and very frightened by the fact that I had maybe because he knew me. He's like,
I was going to say,
this heifer, she can't aim.
No, I thought you were going to say, he's like, I better watch my P's and Q's or something.
She's going to shoot me.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking.
I do have to say, I feel like a dirty secret. Like I'm telling people, it's like, well, I took this gun safety class. I'm like, oh yeah, I have a 44. And I'm like, you have a fucking what? Most everyone I know has a gun except for me. I have friends who have concealed carry licenses. I have friends who are always quote unquote packing.
Yeah.
Some of them men.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Hey now.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't have a gun, and I don't know that I'm going to get a gun, but I am fascinated by them. And I was really excited about the class, and it's interesting to look and see and feel what might feel good for you. I mean, the instructor is so not pushy. He's like, lots of people buy them for personal protection, and they get a gun and then they don't know what to do with it, and they don't like that gun. And there are so many different types of guns for every reason.
Right.
I'm not going to go hunting. I don't like, trap or skeet shooting. It would just be for personal protection, but I also wouldn't want to end up, minus a toe or something.
Yeah. Or with your ceiling.
I like my ceiling. Yeah, I like my ceiling. I don't want no holes in my ceiling. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but
But
I
I
will
mean,
be.
I don't know. You kind of never know who's packing, really.
That's interesting. And yeah, one of my friends, a tipster, has an inside the waistband holster.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because he's like thinner than me or because he's a guy, I'm like, how the hell's that not poke you on the,
Yeah.
pelvis all the time? He's like, no, done. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating thing.
It is.
And I'll be talking about my experience at the gun range on the next mini episode. But this episode is kind of, I'm going to call it a positive one because there are a couple of positives. There's a negative, but I feel like I'm just going to have to say the positives outweigh the negatives. But I want this to be a positive episode. So I want to start with this little story that makes me so happy. And this was from 1990. So Mr. Rogers was babysitting his grandson, and his Oldsmobile sedan was stolen while he was babysitting. And even the robbers were like, you know what? We can't do this. They went through the car and found out, he had like a script and some props. They're like, this belongs to Mr. Rogers. They put it back in front of his house the next day. And the only thing missing was a director's chair with his name on it. They kept that probably as a trophy.
Memento.
Yeah. And it's from a great article from the Wall Street Journal from March of 1990. And it just happened a few weeks before the article came out. And the article's entitled, "This Neighborhood Hasn't Changed a Bit Over the Decades." I know, they brought his car back. I mean, even robbers, car thieves have a heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was like...
That's cute.
Yeah, that's a good story. I wanted that. So this does have a semi-good ending. It has a terrible beginning. But a semi-good ending. I'm just going to have to say it like that. And if you haven't heard about this case recently, you will. I bet you have because you hear everything. But have you heard about baby Holly?
Not yet.
Okay. Now that's surprising to me because you know everything.
Well, I don't know by baby Holly, but once you start talking, I might know who it is.
So she has a different name now, and she may come out with her real name. She's 42 now. She has been identified, and she was called Baby Holly because that's what her parents named her. And there's a picture of her now. She lives in Oklahoma. She was able to speak with her family for the first time on June 7th of 2022. And that was after being identified at the end, I think it was December of 2021.
Tell me the story.
Yeah, it's a good one. So in 1981, there was a man and a woman, two deceased individuals. They were found in a wooded area in Houston. The man had been bludgeoned and the woman had been strangled, but there was no identifiers on them. And it took until 2021 to figure out that it was Tina Lynn Clouse and her husband, Harold Dean Clouse, who had been reported missing actually in 1980. They went missing in 1980.
Wow.
I know. So these two bodies are found in a Houston forest in 1981. They were Florida residents who had moved to Texas in 1980. And according to Harold's family, he was kind of they lovingly call him a troublemaker. He would pick up hitchhikers. He would join any kind of group. He was very much like an open, person who wanted to do different things. And what they believe happened, and they have a lot of reasons to believe this, is that they joined a group, i.e. a cult. And
they were popular back then.
in the 80s, you're exactly right, madam. Big time, being open and real with the environment. And yeah, so it was a group of neophyte religious people who wore white robes and just, yeah. And I'll explain why there's evidence that they joined this terrible group. And his family's like, it sounds completely like him. He would have done this. So this young family moves to Texas in an effort to make more money from Florida. And he wrote many letters to his mom. His mother's still alive, by the way. And after 2021, when their bodies are identified, finally, 40 years later, the family says, well, what about the baby?
Holy crap.
They're like, what baby? It was just this man and woman found there. What about baby Holly? We don't know about baby Holly. So they go back through their records and find that people had reported odd things along the way, everywhere from Texas to Arizona to California. Along the way, little pieces were left that they were able to put 42 years later. Baby Holly is alive. She was adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's not Holly anymore, and she's choosing to remain unidentified, but she has a picture of her in the newspaper. And she was adopted by a lovely family that took care of her. And the family explains the family is not a suspect in anything.
How'd they get the baby? How old was she?
An infant, like a year old.
Wow.
They adopted her after she was left on firehouse steps.
Wow.
Or church steps.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get to it. So, but there is a way we can help. They're asking. I do have to say, the Texas Attorney General's office is winning my heart. I am not a fan of Texas, as you know. I'm never.
Or Florida.
Yeah, Florida and Texas, both of them can go, right into the ocean. Thank you, Jinx. Owe me a Coke. So they have opened a cold case and missing persons unit, and I'm just really excited by this Attorney General because he really wants to do a good job. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, and he's working hard to spend budget money on developing this cold case unit and missing persons unit in a state as large as Texas and being open to other jurisdictions like Oklahoma. I mean, it's like nationwide, and this was a group that had to work together to find baby Holly, and it was with genealogy. So Ken Paxton develops this group along with, Volusia County Sheriff's Office in Florida, the Arizona Attorney General's Office, Harris County, Texas Sheriff's Office, and NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They all had to work together from the end of 2021 to June 7th of 2022 to find baby Holly. We're still going to call her Baby Holly because that's what she was known as in 1980, but she's a 42-year-old woman.
I'm excited to announce that baby Holly has been located alive and well 42 years later. I also am happy to announce that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have offered and will be paying for Holly to be reunited in person with the Lynn and Clouse families. Holly has been notified of the identities of her biological parents and got to meet her extended biological for the family for the first time this Tuesday. They hope to meet in person soon, and NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, is going to facilitate that meeting.
And Ken Paxton says, I'm extremely proud of the exceptional work done by my office's newly formed cold case and missing persons unit. My office diligently worked across state lines to uncover the mystery surrounding Holly's disappearance. We were successful in our efforts to locate her and reunite her with her biological family. At the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, we know that with advancements in technology and the hard work and dedication of law enforcement, we can get answers, even after 4 decades.
Wow.
We're thrilled that Holly will now have the chance to connect with her biological family, who has been searching for her for so long, and we hope that this is a source of encouragement for other families who have missing loved ones that reminds us all to never give up. That is like a huge, I want that message to really get out there. If you have a missing loved one or even an unsolved case, it's got to be so daunting to keep going forward. But you know what? Please don't give up. Please don't give up. So her grandmother, her father's mother, Donna Casasanta, told the Houston Chronicle, I believe Tina's resting in peace knowing that Holly is reunited with her family. Now, that's her daughter-in-law, Tina. I personally am so relieved to know that Holly is alive and well and cared for, but I'm also torn up by this because we know that baby Holly was her life.
Relieved that she is alive, and she said she had a normal raising, and we don't have to worry anymore. All these years I've worried about when she sold to human trafficking.
So her son was Harold, and she was like, he was, devil may care, a little bit of a troublemaker. It wasn't surprising to me that he would join a cult, sometimes long periods of time would go by, but he would never stop contacting me. At some point, he would always contact me. And when they'd moved to Texas, she was like, we got lots of letters, and it was toward the end of 1980 that the letters stopped. So that's when they filed missing persons report, because she couldn't find them. And then you'll find out when she got some evidence that they were really missing because she was contacted.
So I just wonder, how long were they missing before mom it got on their radar?
I'm going to guess 8 to 12 months, because they were not found. I mean, I feel like they probably went missing in late 1980, and they were not found till mid 1981. So they could have been missing sooner. So I'm going to say 8 to 12 months. But, I feel like, back then, we didn't have cell phones. And so her grandmother, Donna Casasanta, says, baby Holly looks a lot like her mother. She's got her mother's soft voice. She's got her mother's voice to a T, but she has a lot of Clouse in her, which is her son's name. And she looks a lot like some of my sons and her great aunt.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of beautiful. So they were newlyweds with this newborn daughter, and they moved to Texas, and then poof, they're gone. So she was born Holly Marie Clouse. She was located in Oklahoma, and that's literally because of these two organizations that worked together to find her genetic genealogy. And it's beautiful. She was able to talk to her grandmother and her aunt via Zoom on June 7th, connect with them. And this will just kill you. It would have been Harold Clouse's 63rd birthday, June 7th. Wow. I know. And her grandmother says, finding Holly is a birthday present from heaven, since we found her on Harold's birthday. And she called him, Junior, because he was Harold Jr. All right, so let me find.
That's sad and nice.
It's incredibly, incredibly beautiful. Okay, so in 1981, a dog stumbled upon unidentified human remains in a Houston forest. Now, it was just a man and a woman, and they couldn't identify him because there was just nothing, even though they were, these two people had been reported missing, it's like nobody put these things together. So Harold had been beaten, bludgeoned, and Tina had been strangled. And even though it was a homicide, they just didn't know what the hell happened for 40 years, till 2021. So with the help of two genetic genealogists, there was a key piece of the DNA that was discovered via a clue on GEDmatch, which is what we know they used to get the Golden State Killer. They contacted Debbie Brooks, who ended up being Harold's sister in Kentucky. And she had uploaded her DNA into GEDmatch, which is an open source website. And they unearthed the couple's long known identities. Finally, I'm getting like chills. So it was Debbie Brooks who reignited the hunt for Holly, because she's like, okay, that's Harold and his wife Tina. Now, where's the baby? And they were like, we didn't know there was a baby. So they start, looking, where's this baby? Where's this baby? So this weird group, here's where we can help, a weird group of nomadic, religious, interesting human beings brought baby Holly to a church. They were wearing long white robes and they were barefoot. They indicated that their beliefs in religion was the separation of male and female members. They were vegetarian and they would not wear leather goods. They also told the people at the church they had given up another baby at a laundromat. I don't know if these people killed them, but I can tell you there's some weird, hard to believe them to be religious because of some demands they made against Harold's family, which I'm going to get to. So this group traveled around the southwestern part of the United States in the 80s, Arizona, California, and Texas. So there were sightings of them in Yuma, Arizona. The women would be seen around town asking for food. But the really strange thing is that they contacted Harold's family. A woman named Sister Susan called Harold's family, said she was calling from Los Angeles and that she wanted to return their car, Harold and Tina's car.
Okay.
She stated that Tina and Dean had joined their group and were no longer wanting to have contact with their families. and that they were giving up all of their possessions. So Sister Susan says, in exchange for money, I'm going to return your car to Florida where the rest of the family had lived. So they agreed to meet Sister Susan at the Daytona racetrack, and then they contacted the local police about the meeting.
Okay.
The family described meeting 2 different women and possibly 1 male. And once again, these women were wearing robes in what appeared to be in a religious group. The police reportedly took the women into custody, but there's no record of a police report on file that can be found. And given the age of the case, I know this is terrible. The Texas Attorney General says, given the age of the case, that this is common, and we're still looking for that report. So the car that was returned to Dean's family, well, Harold Dean's family, was a 1978 2-door red burgundy AMC Concorde. So the car was returned. Police were there. They took 2 women into custody. Don't know any other information. Can't find a report.
So we have no idea what their names are.
Well, they probably gave fake names because they just wore white robes and said, you know, separation of men and women. They don't eat, you know. I mean, the fact that they're vegetarians right there, that's enough. They should have kept them in custody.
You're what's wrong with this country.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, yeah. Anyway, if there's a piece of information that may not even be concrete evidence, we need to find pieces of this puzzle to solve this crime. While we wish Holly the best, and we're grateful that she's been found and that she, you know, has her family back, we must continue with our purpose of finding who murdered this couple. So I have some information on where you can go, who you can contact. I mean, it would be startling to me if this group wasn't known to somebody. They traveled around the southwestern part of the United States through a large part of the 80s, probably even the late 70s.
Right.
You know, how do you give up a baby in one place and say we gave up a baby in another place?
Yeah.
I mean, kids don't fall off of trees, you know?
Yeah.
How do you come in possession of a baby of a murdered couple?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like somebody has to know about a group. You know, it's like the Elizabeth Smart case, you know, a group of, you know, religious wackos who steal her from her religious, that just makes me ill to say that, steal her out of her bedroom and keep her for the better part of a year. And, you know, she has a burqa over her face or head and, you know, she can't, but yet someone identifies her in the town square when they're begging for food. I feel like somebody has to know about this group, you know?
Yeah.
They may not know what they know, but I feel like they got to
know
know
the
something.
group.
Yeah.
Because there were people in it.
Right. More than one.
Yeah.
And with those specific things, like men and women kept separately, you know, no eating of meat, no wearing of leather goods, white robes, you know, and somehow access to at least 2 babies that we know of, but 1 baby from...
Well, we know if there's 1.
Right.
If there's 2, then we know there are many.
Exactly. And who could remember we left a baby at a laundromat? That's got to be on a report. I mean, I'm a little shocked that they took them into custody after returning 2, at the time they didn't know it was 2 dead people, but 2 missing people's car, you know? You take them into custody, and what could they have said that would have allowed them to be released? And we don't know anything because they can't find their report. But I just feel like somebody somewhere has to know something. And I get it. This is 40 years ago.
Well,
but
I mean, that part doesn't matter.
Right. You hope that there's someone still around and alive that's like, you know what? I remember running into these weirdos in Arizona, California, Texas. I mean, you know, they had to travel around all of the Southwest. And you remember something that stands out like that. You know, they may not have had a baby with them, but the fact that they had, you know, Harold and Tina's car, and are like, you know, they joined our group,
They
which
don't want it.
right, may or may not have happened, but if they were, you know, we're not, and they want to cut all ties with their family, so we'll return the car to you. Right. Yeah. So if you know
That's
anything,
crazy.
that's a great word. It's all crazy. If you know anything about what could have happened, where she could have been, how she got adopted, baby Holly, who lives in Oklahoma. If you know anything that could have happened to her parents and why they weren't found for the better part of a year in the forest of Texas, please call the Texas Attorney General's office at 512-936-0742, and they have developed this new cold case and missing persons unit, and you can email them at coldcaseunit@aog.texas.gov. And if you want to call us, you can call us at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any social media platform, and more CAPA.